Good afternoon. Good afternoon. We are live. It is the Get to Know Her show. I'm so happy you guys are here. Once again, you're in for a real treat today. I cannot wait to introduce my guest to you. But before we go there, I want to talk to you about our sponsor, Brenda Bedome. Today, I am wearing one of her long sweaters, her pants, and this beautiful little top made with eco-friendly fabric. I love the color, icy blue. And Brenda surprised me. She gave me a call last week and she said, you know what I want to do for all the Get to Know Her viewers? Because it's 2021 and we're off to a new year and a new start. She said, I want to give them 21% off of their order when they use the coupon code Get to Know Her. Amazing. So you guys get on her website, brendabedome.com, check out her clothes, check out her eco-friendly fabrics. They are so nice and soft and she's wonderful. I know she's planning to eventually work only with eco-friendly fabrics, but she's bringing them in. So be sure to check them out. Are you ready to get on with the show? I sure am. Today, I have my friend Laurel Crossley joining us. She is, to me, she's a fairy godmother. She's the woman we always wished we had around when we were kids, but Laurel was also a kid when we were kids. I can't wait to dive into conversation with her and talk to her about what got her to this place, why she loves working with children so much, and how she has developed her business, because she's going big time, you guys. So it's going to be a great conversation. Let's bring her on right now. Look at you, look fantastic.
I changed.
Oh, good. And Boink says hi, if anyone heard the bark. She's here because she loves her Auntie Laurel, and I couldn't,
And the cat is because I'm in the middle of packing up my home to move. The cat is inside the paper, the packing paper, and diving in. So if you hear crumpling, rattling, apparently this is a show all about our pets. This is not about you and I today.
No, it's not. And yeah, I don't know why this dog's being so vocal, but hopefully that doesn't last long. Laurel, you're moving?
Yes.
Wow. During
COVID.
Good for you. You're a brave girl.
Well, it's a funny story. The property we live in, we've rented for years, and we've held off on purchasing thinking, oh, the market's going to drop. Everything's going to change. And so apparently we just needed a kick in the rumpus room to get us to move. So I'm literally packing everything up. The property's been sold. And now begins the journey of searching for a new home. So if anybody out there has a home to sell privately, so I don't have to get into a bidding war, I've got details, and Monica will send them to you so your listeners can find us the home, because I don't want to do any work.
Oh, for sure. Anybody out there? Yeah, definitely.
Great.
They're going to all help you out. No problem. It's a great audience we got today. Laurel, I want to start, first of all, by asking you a question I ask all of my people. But can we just take note of the cute little piggy up above you?
Yeah. Did you? Boink said, maybe that's it. Boink wants to mange on the piggy.
Yes. I think she does. She's watching you like she's really into it. Yeah, she feels your vibe. So Laurel, when you were a little girl and you were, I don't know how old you would have been, but the first time you thought, this is what I want to do with my life, or maybe it was just an entrepreneurial thought you had. What's your first memory?
So I was told by my mother, who transitioned off this planet a couple of years ago, my very first word was baby. And that set the stage for always having a yearning, I can't describe it other than that, to be surrounded by babies, toddlers, children, like right through my whole life. So there's that thread of continuity. The second thing was when I went to school, because we didn't have JK, we had K, so I was 5. I went into the classroom and I didn't speak. I didn't say anything. I sat in the background, but I came home and my parents bought me a standing, it was green on one side, and then I don't know if it was magnetic on the other side. I can't remember, but it flipped around and I would go home every day and instruct my stuffed animals the lessons that I'd learned. Now, my mom shared with me afterwards, she would go upstairs to see what I was teaching and kill herself laughing. She said the funniest things were up on that board. So I was highly imaginative, loved kids, loved teaching. And that's where it all started. I didn't think about owning my own business at all, not till I got to be a little bit older.
Wow, that's amazing. So take us through your
from 5?
Take us through I'm ready. Get the board out. I'm ready for a lesson.
Sorry.
Take us through how your in your upbringing, like how your parents sort of did they inspire you as far as the way that they raised you, or and you have siblings as well, right?
Yes, I have 2 brothers.
You have 2 brothers, yeah.
One older, one younger. My older brother was 5 years older, so he was off doing his own thing most of his life, right? And my younger brother and I were less than 2 years apart. So we played together a lot as children and we were outside a lot. Like we didn't have inside anything. And there was this beautiful lilac bush. So we'd go and I would make concoctions in there, like take some ivory, what was that? The soap flakes.
Yeah.
With water and dirt and make pies. So that's as a child. So my mother was very much about reading and imaginative and storyteller. My dad wasn't home a lot because he was an entrepreneur.
Things are coming together here. Yeah.
So you've got this mother who took care of everything in the household so my father could go out, and I used to do impressions of my dad. My dad had a dictation machine. I don't know if you remember one of those. Okay. And so he would say stuff into it, dictating letters, and then my mom would type them up because she was very much part of the business as well. So I would pretend to be on my dictating machine going, next letter going out to Claude Hewitt. Dear Claude. And I would do things like this. So I think I was practicing to be a Claude Hewitt. He's right now up in heaven somewhere going, oh no, I'm not getting any royalties from this.
That is classic.
So, there was always that, that creativity, which is a huge part of being an entrepreneur, right? Is that creative element, that storytelling, that visionary. And I wrote stories to beat the band, which were ridiculously hilarious. Again, I had my mother, she tells me there was one particular story that I wrote. Okay, so I was shy in school. I didn't say much, but I'd write stories and I'd sing and I'd do all these performance things, but then I wouldn't talk. So I was getting my yayas out elsewhere. But in one particular story, I was trying to sound so grown up. And I said something about the neighbor invited somebody over to have, a beverage like tea or coffee. And so the line in the story was, would you like to come over for a drink? Now I was 6. So my mom is imagining our elderly neighbor inviting some strange man into her house. You like a drink? But I thought it sounded so grown up.
Oh, Laurel, that's so sweet. So you weren't like a baby talking kid. You wanted to be grown up.
Yeah. And I think, in our house, language was really important. It was all about how you presented yourself. I mean, that's probably also the age that we grew up in, right, too. That it was all about how you looked on the outside. And you know, my mom was heavily involved in the school, in volunteering. And so, and she worked with kids, and she'd come home and share those stories with me. And then when I went out and did babysitting, I would be sharing some of my hilarious stories from the kids that I'd be looking after. So, and from that, from her and I talking about this, it was at the time when women were going back to work in droves and leaving children for the first time. So
Right.
yeah, there were some working moms, but this was a real huge shift. And so I would see the ripple effect of the children that were being left for the first time that wasn't part of my childhood because my mom stayed home until we were older. And so we'd have discussions on what's best for the child all the time. All the time.
Even when you were a child, you would
Well,
talk.
I was 16, 17.
Yeah, okay.
18, you know, and yeah, isn't that interesting that so that thread right through. So I've got the child thread, the creativity thread, the entrepreneurial thread, all going through as I grew up in Burlington. I've been
amazing.
Here yeah.
And were you also like the babysitter of the street kind of thing? Like,
oh no, it was highly competitive. Oh man.
Oh, it was.
Oh, we had lots of. Oh yeah, there were lots of young women my age. We were like, but what happened was, we had our favorites, right? Usually, the closer they are, they're our favorites, right? Yeah. And so my best friend from kindergarten, who we still hang out all the time, Jessica. Hi, Jessica. Her sister started babysitting first. So then Jessica got the hand-me-downs. And then if I couldn't do her work, I got that. And then my parents knew some people in the neighborhood, so I got their kids. So we kind of naturally all divvied up the territory. So there was no like, you know, taking out the competition. So again, it was another lesson in entrepreneurship, right?
And it was a referral-based business that you were. That's so great. Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. And so you did that in high school. Laurel, did you have any part-time jobs or and also related to children or?
Oh, no.
No. Okay.
Not at all.
Tell us about your first.
So, well, one was I worked for the City of Burlington Recreation Department for years as a camp counselor. So that's where my insane kind of playful recreation fun gets interjected with the serious entrepreneur attitude or philosophy. But I worked as a waitress. I got a job at 18 at the local pizza place, which I think 3/4 of my high school worked at some point. So that taught me a lot about selling and sales and flogging things that people didn't really want. And I'd be saying, yeah, delicious. Or, oh, don't get that. That tastes, no. I'm going to recommend to you, purchase this. You'll be very happy if you take this one. And I still have dreams about waitressing, which is really bizarre. But I was gifted a job at my high school. Totally nothing to do with anything. So one of my English teachers, because I was really good at English and I loved all my English teachers, she approached me and said, because I said, would you ever want me to babysit your children? See, entrepreneurial spirit going in.
Wow.
Talking to the teachers, knew they were flush, knew they, they probably have to be in bed early because they're teachers. Tired for our teachers on her. So I hit her up for some work. And she said, oh, that's so thoughtful. 2 days later, she comes to me and says, I have a part-time job for you. How would you like to work in the library?
Wow. And?
So I told all my friends I'm out to change the image of the librarian. Because I wore leopard skin dresses to school, really high heels, had my hair done like Bo Derek at some points. Oh yeah, I was like expressive.
Okay, I just need to say that the other day, I got to say it on here, I was scouring through your Facebook page. I was creeping you for a photo. And I came across a picture of you and your husband, which you have now told me was in 1980-ish. You two were hot stuff. Well, you still are, but my God.
Well,
in the Camaro.
Oh yeah, his 1980 black Camaro. And then I went out a few years later and bought a 1980 white Camaro because, driving that mama around like from here I go. So I know it's so fun. Going back and reliving all these things is really fun to do. I would encourage anybody to do that. So now I don't even remember the question.
So we were talking about your jobs, and you were saying you had the librarian, you were changing the look, and I interjected only because that I saw that look on Facebook, and I was thrilled.
I will have to get you the bow hair hair. I think I have a picture of it. It's not a very flattering picture, but anyway, I do have that. My girlfriend would come over, and her friend, and they would spend hours braiding my hair. So it wasn't cornrow; it was actually individual braids. It was hilarious.
Gorgeous.
Back when bow was the thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was interesting, and it was in that job. So when I decided to go to school, so I think it was the last year of high school. So I would open up the library in the morning, and I would shut her down at night, and then so that was my little job. So before school and after school, and it was a lot of fun. And I got to meet a lot of students. Some of them were punished and had to go to the library, so I'd chat with them, and some of them were my friends. And then they'd come in the library and they go, "What are you doing in here?" "I'm working." "You are working in a library?" Because I was this theatrical, artistic, did acting in school, did the plays, and there I was in the library, like the least likely thing. But it was during a moment in the library that I was sitting with my guidance counselor and sharing with her that I really wanted to do something with children. And she suggested to me, so I'd applied to, I think, Mohawk College and Sheridan College to do my early childhood education diploma. And she was sitting there guiding one of my fellow students, and they both looked at me and they said, "You need to go to university and you need to get your degree. Never mind college, just go get your degree. You have this brain up here and you need to do something with it." So it was based upon a student and my guidance counselor in that job that I went, okay, I'm off to university to apply. So I got in. Wow. And that's how it all, no thought, no planning, no parental involvement, nothing, just did my own thing. Never discussed, I'm doing this job. Nobody knew where I was. Nobody knew what I was doing. I'd say, I'm in a play. You want to come see me? Oh yeah, okay. Here's tickets. Like there was not like now we're so laser involved in our kids' lives. Back then it was like, is she coming home? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, amazing. Different times, Laurel?
Well, and I think what it does is it frees your imagination. You had to think on your feet if you got into trouble, and I didn't get into trouble much, but you had to think on your feet. You had to use that part of your brain. Nobody was picking you up from anywhere. You had to figure out your rides. That's why everybody had their license at 16, and then it was begging parents for cars,
Right.
I need to borrow the car, and so you get the dregs of the car, that the radio didn't work and somebody's hammering on the top of it to get the radio to work. There was 95 people slammed in one car. And you remember those days, right?
Oh God, I love it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how we sort of ended up taking on more of an academic look at how to be with children, because I certainly had the playful stuff down. I had the babysitting stuff down. I had I did my first job, which was a volunteer job. I worked at a local daycare center, and I still have the quote. I was 13 years of age, and or 14, I can't remember which, and I still have the quote from her, I think 13, saying how special I was with working with kids. And then the following year, the Volunteer Bureau of Burlington, whatever it's called now, I don't even think it exists, they called me and said, "We don't typically do this, but you came highly recommended. We want to offer you a job." Wow. And so I ended up working for a family as a nanny, sort of.
Oh wow! So were you like a live-in nanny, or you just went there
and went to their house in the morning? And my job, because she had twins, would now be 100. And I worked with the 3-year-old. So the 3-year-old and I were hanging out together. Oh my gosh, we had so much fun. I have a picture of her somewhere in my repertoire.
Oh, that's so great. You know what, Laurel, there's so many things I think from our generation that we learned. That you described that so beautifully. Just the whole, we're such good problem solvers because things did not come easily to us. Our parents were not laser focused on us, and our whole, not that they didn't care about us, but we had all this freedom. They were the adults, we were the children. Their problems were the big deal, ours were not.
Right.
Right. And so you learn how to navigate through stuff, and you learn how to, get scrappy and figure out, like, okay, what is it I need to do to accomplish this thing? We didn't go running to our parents. It was more, I remember sitting with my parents, and it was almost like presenting a business proposal. Like, okay, I know you guys wanted me to do X, but I really want to do this, and this is the reasons why. Like, here's my plan, here's my backup plan. And then they go, okay, but if I had given it to them to figure it out for me, they'd go, why are you interrupting our dinner? Go outside. Like, what are you?
Right. And I remember going to my mother and saying, I've applied to Brock University. And my mom went, where is that? Because it was almost brand new. And she went, Brock. Oh. She said, I always imagined you going to Queens for teaching.
Amazing.
No, I went to Brock, and I didn't even do teaching.
So what did you end up taking at Brock?
So I took I don't want to tell people this, but anyway, I had so much fun at university. I had so much fun. I'm going to say it again. Fourth time, I had so much fun. That academically, things didn't happen. So what eventually happened is I got out of one program because they said, you had to maintain this average, and yours is like Z. So you can stay in this program and this stream and get your degree, but you can't do this, which would have been the teaching way.
Okay.
And so I went, oh, well, okay, whatever. And I paid for it. So you know what? And what I thought is, I'm paying for my own education because you could afford to work in the summer and pay for your own schooling.
Is that something?
I paid for it. It's my screw up. It's my fault. It's no one else's. So that's the path I'm going on. And so I applied about 1,729.876 repeat times to get into Teachers College. And I tried for 4 years, right until I got married. And I got rejected every single time.
Wow.
And the last time I applied, it crushed my soul. I went into a really dark, sad, anxious place.
Yeah.
Because my work, up until then, my vision for myself was teaching in a classroom, kindergarten students. That's really what I wanted to be. I wanted to be with the little fellas. And it didn't happen. And then a wise woman, aka my mother, said, stroking her beard of wisdom, what if you focused on adult education? And I went, what is that you speak of? Because my dad was teaching and he taught at Sheridan College for years. And I went, oh, well, that sounds interesting. And so my dad had a contract. He was living in Penetanguishene at the time, him and my mom. Mm-hmm. They had relocated from Burlington to Penetanguishene, and they had decided, or my dad had gotten some contracts helping students find employment. They were adults that their jobs had been lost. And so he was running he ran a couple of programs that I helped with, but this one was specific to employment. And he said, come and help me I was newly married. Bye, Dave. I'm leaving now. So much for the honeymoon. I'm off to Penetanguishene.
You could have had your honeymoon in Penetanguishene.
I'm back in the 80s. I don't know about that. Maybe now. Maybe things have flourished a lot. You know, but the insane, well, they used to call it the insane asylum, but the Institute for the Criminally Insane, I don't think they call it that anymore. They call it something else. It's, you know, it was up there. So, you know, maybe he and I could get a stay in there. I don't know. And I don't mean to offend anybody because I know it's a serious place. But so I went up and I helped him out. And, you know, as my mom said, if nothing else, you'll figure out how to find work.
Oh, great advice.
And I went, all right, I'm doing it. So I did it. And then I ended up teaching, using the methodologies. I came back and came back home, and I got a job working for a native training company, corporate training company. And that's where I learned about mind, body, spirit connection.
Oh my gosh!
Clients were native and were Indigenous to Canada, and shared with me all sorts of things about the earth, wellness, and like a little sponge, I was teaching and they were teaching me. It was this beautiful relationship.
Yeah. And
I said to myself, I'm listening to this. I was part of healing circles. I was part of, you know, I learned about the medicine wheel. I just learned all of this rich, ancient, like steeped in the earth, like right in the middle of the, not middle earth, because middle earth is a little hot, but, you know, deep in the roots of this. And it's, my soul went, and, you know, as one soul does when something resonates with them, well, at least mine does. And that's where it started on the path of wellness.
God, that's incredible. Now, you know, I want to comment on that, because the other thing about our generation and generations before us, I cannot even imagine the devastation you felt after that rejection for Teachers College. And I think in those times when you were experiencing that, we thought like this: I'm going to become a teacher, I'm going to become a doctor, I'm going to become a dentist. And we didn't see that there could be other branches from that to something that could possibly even be even more spectacular or more suited to us. So God, the wisdom of your mother just saying, you know, those words to you about just start working and then you're going to figure out from there how to find work. My God. And for her, a stay-at-home mom, to have that insight.
Well, at that point, she was a business partner with my dad.
Okay.
So she started off supporting him.
Yeah.
And then eventually they went, and so they worked together. And that's a rarity, to have a couple working in a business together, owning it 50-50.
Yeah.
And not killing one another. I mean, there were moments living in that environment. So I watched how my mom handled entrepreneurship and how my dad handled entrepreneurship. And so really, I'm really a culmination of and combination of the two of them.
Yeah.
You know, and then throwing my own little spin on it. Yeah, it's been it's a neat journey, man.
Yeah. And so the other thing, Laurel, is, and I always say this to you too, I've always admired how you think big. Your head just goes there. I don't know if you ever thought small before, but I think that is you know, an issue a lot of female entrepreneurs have, is that they do put themselves in this box. They think, okay, here's what I can do. Here's my capability. And you're one of those people who has the, you know, you look at it and go, even in our conversations together, you've been like, why would you want to, what was that one time you said to me, why would you want to sell 100 different products when you could sell one thing 1,000,000 times? And I was like, like, I've never even thought of that, but that is how your brain works. And I'm sure a lot of it is the influence from your parents and your own soul searching and your own digging. And I think it's so exciting. And I wrote this down, that your goal now is to service 1 million children worldwide with your services and products. So I think we got to dive right into that, and you got to let the people know like what you're doing for kids. Because I told you this morning, I was on your website all morning and I'm like, oh, good God, you're doing so much. It's amazing.
Well, let's look at the international situation right now for children.
Yeah.
Women and children are typically the last beings on earth that big business consider the health and well-being of. And, the first thing I notice when I go outside, I notice two things. I notice dogs. And I've never had a dog, but I notice dogs, and I notice children. And I will engage in conversations with both. And dogs usually stop me in my path and then like come over and and I feel the love chakra. That's right here in their chest, and massage that for a while, and then they're friends for life. And
Boink just barked when you said
seriously, I'm communicating with Boink right now. You have no idea. I was told I could speak telepathically to animals, so I'm just doing that right now, sending some love.
I love it.
But we have a crisis situation. We have children that don't have. Here in Canada, we have children without clean water, not very far from us. Mm-hmm. We have children that don't have access to the basic necessities of life: a home, water, food, good food that you can consume right within our backyard. We need to focus in. We need to start with our own neighborhood and then work out from there. Children are are diagnosed more and more often with mental health issues. So something definitely is going on. Yes, we're diagnosing more because we know more. Yes, but at the same time, what are we doing? What is happening on this earth that is contributing to the emotional instability of children? Mm-hmm. And let's throw in my favorite thing, the vid. And, and now we've taken it to level XYZ with our own well-being. So for me, this working with children, it started, the reason my first word was baby was because my brother was born.
Aww.
And, my mom shared a story with me that she had just had him, and I was not out of diapers. So I was not 2. So I was probably like 20, I think I would have been 23 months old. So I was standing, she said, I was standing in the hall looking like so, maybe looking a little like this. Without the left smile. And by the way, I wasn't 23 months there. I was in grade 4. But seriously, looking so dejected. And she said, "What's the matter?" And I looked at her and said, "Want to see that baby?" So right there, my love for children started with my brother.
Aww.
Not my older brother, because I didn't really see him much because he was off at school. But my baby brother was my baby. He was mine. It was like, back off, taking care of him. And it seems to have blown up from there. So I want to be what I call the kidvocate. I want to be advocating for kids. I want to teach them how to share their own voice, to be able to say, hey, I'm not feeling great today. My head hurts, my heart hurts, my tummy hurts, my spirit hurts, my soul hurts, I don't feel right. And then to understand what they need to do. I need to go outside. I need to eat a piece of fruit. I need to go talk to my friend. I need a hug. The thing with children is that it's not as complicated and complex as we perceive it to be as adults. We've got a lot of baggage. So we're overthinking, overanalyzing, overprescribing. And I don't mean that like prescriptions, but dictating what we're trying to do with the kid. And sometimes I say to parents quite simply, have you ever asked them what they need in that moment?
Mm.
And the parents go, no, I never thought of that. I said, are you trying to fix it? Yes, usually. Okay, don't fix it. Ask. It come from a place of love and kindness, and ask. So there's a lot of, I think, going back to our, our simple childhood, pulling elements of that in to help parents navigate through these types of situations. And one of the things I'm encouraging families to do is create a time capsule. Because this is a moment in history that everyone will remember. They'll be telling their grandchildren about it. Oh, you remember the pandemic? Oh,
yeah.
And sharing the stories of how difficult it was and what was happening. And the grandchildren will be going,
yeah, they'll be going, what? You guys had viruses? What's nobody has viruses. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of work to be done on this earth, in my opinion, to better support children. And the younger we can intervene, the least likely the children will have in adulthood with any type of wellness situation, because they'll have learned it at such a young age.
I love that, Laurel. You know, what I find fascinating about this is that, so right now I have a person who I talk to once every 2 weeks for some good therapy. We all have our anxious stuff. We got to work this stuff out. And one of the things that she does with me, which I love, is she really focuses on the inner child and what does the inner child need. And now it's gotten to a point where I can finally, at the age of 51 years old, I know how to self-soothe. I'm understanding how to mother myself. I'm understanding how to take care of myself without looking externally to my husband for that, or my mom for that, or needing to call a friend. Because even though those are really great support systems and they do always help, learning how to do it for myself has been so powerful. And that's why I say, God, I wish you were around when I was a kid, but we were both kids, is that's what you're teaching children now, which is so powerful. They won't have to, I think it's a huge part of midlife crisis.
Yeah.
And these kids, they won't have that part of it because they'll be able to express their emotions. They'll be able to talk about how they feel, and they'll be able to take care of themselves, which is it's so important.
And children, babies, infants come to this earth as themselves. And quite often what we try to do is we try to change. Well, I had a kid, you couldn't change anything. He was born, he's a Taurus.
Oh yeah, I love it. I married one of those.
There was no teaching him how to do anything. Like he was here. But children are born who they're supposed to be. They come here as loving, accepting of love, gentle beings, unless of course they've had some sort of trauma in childhood, in infancy or neonatally. That's a whole different kettle of fish. But, the fact that we want to change them or shift them, I don't want to change or shift them. I want to enhance them, not enhance them. That's not the right word, but I want to hold them like this and their little cute little bum cheeks and go, okay, you know who you are now. So I'm here to support you. You just let me know. Is there anything you need to say right now? Seriously, that's what I feel like I'm doing. Anything you need to say? And I have worked, typically a parent will come to me and say, hey, Laurel, can you coach my kid? Can you help them manage their behavior? No.
Does your hair go up on your back?
I said, because, usually I said, no, not typically, but what behavior is it that you want them to manage? Their anger. Oh, do you also want me to help them manage their happiness? No. So we have a gambit of emotions, and each one of them needs to come out at different times. It's our coping mechanism. It's a stress releaser. So when we do this, we need to do this. Like, we need to let her go, let her rip. And so, if they're angry, I think what you're asking me is, are there things that child in that moment, when they're starting to ramp up, they can figure out for themselves on what to do? And that's typically when the parents go, ding, the little light bulb goes on. Yes, that's what I meant to say. And then we laugh, of course. And because we have these unrealistic expectations of self and our environment and our vehicles and our children, because we're always looking externally to figure out comparing ourselves to what everybody else has, does, thinks, whatever, which is why right now we have groups of anti and pro, because they're getting distracted instead of doing the thing that would best support them to stop the situation.
Yeah. Right.
So stop listening to the certain news channels. I've forbidden certain news stations in my household to be on when I'm awake.
Yeah.
And I will call people on it, or I grab the remote and turn it off, or I will unplug the next thing the next thing I'm doing is I am getting rid of cable. So that won't be a problem anymore.
Yeah, great. We did that. So such a
excuse me. So that's the thing, is to get out of that. And what is it you need? What is it that you need? And when you model that to your children, that's the best gift you can give them. Never mind buying them an iPad. Never mind getting them the latest PlayStation. The best gift you can give your kid is a great foundation upon which to decide what is right for them. Not parent, right for them. And that's what I feel like I've done with my kids. And I won't say anything if they do something. I go, that's not really clever. I just let them figure it out. And then I'll say, well, what do you think? How did that go? Yeah. Well, I didn't want to say anything.
Yeah.
And what would you choose? How would you choose to do it next time? We need to give our kids autonomy, no matter how old they are. They'll come to us when they need us. They'll come to us for advice. If we've opened the door, they'll come to us. And remind you, now mine are 21 and 25, so they're old. They're old people. So.
They're old people. I love your kids. People. They are fun kids, man.
Yeah. Well, you have a fan over here. Her name is Alana.
She's a firecracker.
Oh yeah. And she's just ramping up into her own business.
Yeah.
And working in a very specialized area. And so when I suggested to her, like, it was sort of off the top of my head, I said, well, have you ever thought about coaching? And she went, yeah. Ooh. And she went and she got her designation. So now she's the second generation life coach.
Beautiful. And you're passing on your mom's legacy. You're giving your daughter what your mother gave you. That's so great. Cool. So Laurel, what's in store for 2021 for you? I know you had your big conference in 2020. And what's happening? I
don't really know. I do a lot of intuitive work. A lot of visualization, meditation, which is where I get my ideas from. When I sat with you and I made some recommendations, I'm literally channeling what I see for you. So that's my gift, is I'm able to see, what's in front of me, try this. I'm getting messages all the time. So for me, what I'm building out is a huge wellness support portal. And so what happens is someone comes to my website, because one of the gaps is that every time you go to a resource or use a resource and you have a family member or yourself or your child is struggling, you have to repeat your story 83 million times. I wanted to eliminate that. So what I'm doing is offering a free service where someone comes to my website. If they're in crisis, there's a Get Help Now button, and you go in there and all the links are there for you to get some supports, mental health, supports. And I'm focusing on mental health because that's really crucial right now and critical. And then if you're not in crisis, there's an intake button. Someone within 24 hours will contact you, and right now it'll be me. And then I find you the right resources. So it's taking all the people I know, putting them into a portal, and then talking to the parent, and then being able to advise them, here's 3 people I think that could help your situation right now.
Fantastic.
Your kid needs this, your kid needs that. Within 24 hours. No lineup, no waiting, and all these practitioners do their work online.
Yeah, perfect. And so you're offering it for adults and their children.
And individuals as well.
And individuals. Oh, fantastic.
And so the people that pay are the people that are part of the website. So the coaches and the therapists and that. So I've talked to people. This all came about at the end of the year. I've talked to people. It's now putting them into the website. So the website's like just bare bones right now as I work through it. So that's amazing. The vision.
God, you know what? I've heard you say just bare bones right now a couple of times in our friendship, and it always turns out to be fabulous.
Mm-hmm. And the really is one aspect of it.
Yeah.
And then so there's the wellness support, and then the promotion side are the memberships. That's the children's wellness, or not children's wellness, excuse me. That is the kids' wellness memberships, the family wellness memberships, and then we have one for business, for professionals who want to have more wellness in their business. And that's a work in progress. I haven't really looked at that yet. So
God.
That's what I'm doing, man.
Oh, Laurel, you're amazing.
Thank you.
Can you believe our time is up?
Yes.
Like, I can't.
Because I've been doing all the talking.
It goes so fast, but I love hearing your story. And there's so many things I didn't know about you. And I'm really happy that you were able to share them.
Wait, don't forget.
Yeah. We won't forget, and we won't forget dictating for, what was it?
Next we're going out to Claude Hewitt. Dear Claude.
Claude. That's great. God, I wish I knew you when I was a kid. I think we would have gotten some trouble. Oh, Laurel, thank you so much for today. And I would like to invite you to an Instagram after party after we're done here. So hang on in the back room in my virtual green room. And I will be right with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
You're amazing. Mwah. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Sarah and Tara, thank you for your comments. That was just so great. Please follow Laurel and check out what she's doing. If you have kids, or in some cases like Tara has twins coming, you'll want to follow Laurel and get all kinds of inspiration. She's just wonderful. Thank you so much for watching. If you happen to be watching this on YouTube, I would love it if you would subscribe to the channel. And as always, go to brendabadome.com and get yourself some beautiful clothes to make yourself feel good. And don't forget to use the coupon code Get to Know Her for 21% off, you guys. It's a big savings, so I hope you use it. Take care, and we will see you next week on the Get to Know Her show.